Hello there and welcome to this tutorial on how to program the ROLAND SVC-350 Vocoder, a vocoder from the early 80s. I'm Steve from Sci-Fi Funk, and I want to be slightly controversial actually from the word go and say I'd like you to think of this unit as a synthesizer in its own right. If you can get your head around that, I think you can do more things with it other than the cliched uses of it, shall we say. So let's run through the front panel here. But before I do that, let's just talk about what a vocoder is. It's something that fuses, if you like, two signals together. This is made up of the program input, which comes from this section here, and usually comes from via a microphone, and you'd usually want to put your voice in there, but you don't have to. So things get interesting when you start to choose program inputs other than your voice, although the voice is possibly the best instrument you've ever got, and it's free because of its expression, but more on that later. And a second section, the carrier input here, instrument and guitar in this case. The program input gives the vocoder its expression, which is why using a voice for this is a good idea, and the carrier input gives its sound source. So you're probably wanting to hear it rather than me blather on at this stage. So if I change it from direct microphone to vocoder,
and now I just press down one note on this synthesizer and start speaking through it, you will see that the pitch is determined by the synthesizer, and as I move up through the pitches, then the thing goes up and down the scale. So pitch by the carrier, and the expression through your voice or the program input. And I can mix these. So if we're halfway through, you can now hear me as well as the synth input. Of course, you're not limited to one note. You've got unlimited notes. So I could play, quite a, I think, if I may say so myself, beautiful little chord. And now the expression is coming through the vocoder. I can change that chord, and the whole thing starts to sound quite musical, quite magical, if you like.
in order to program this machine, you probably need to understand what it's actually doing for you. And basically the vocoder consists of two sections, an analysing section and a synthesizing section. So it is a synth in its own right. The analysing section breaks down the program input, which tends to be the voice, and that uses the frequency, I'm quoting from the manual here, the frequency content at any given instant, and then reassembles this sound in the synthesizer section using the carrier or instrument as a basic sound source or building material. What on earth does that mean in English? Because the unit is constantly, I guess, in a sort of way, sample and hold, sample and hold, sample and hold on what's coming into it, that's how it's able to change quickly over time and match the expression of the program input. In other words, that's why the thing can sound like speaking if the program input is a microphone. For proof of this phenomena, the fact that it's sample and holding, sample and holding, we get proof of this by using this jack here. Now all of these three should be foot switches, but I've got a poor man's foot switch here, and it's just a 1/4-inch jack which I push in or pull out to make the thing do what it should do. But this actual hold one's important because this is part of the performance element of the instrument, and if you use it as a foot pedal and you press the foot pedal at the point that you make the sound that you want, it will, for a short period of time, sample and hold that and then keep that, and it's quite good for expressing. I shall try and demonstrate here. Go into vocoder mode.
I'm pressing a note, and now what I'm going to do is hold down the hold button, pedal rather, and let's see what happens.
So, in other words, it has sampled that little thing, and then I can play that particular sound that came into it, that particular sample that came into it.
Now I'm going to depress the whole pedal.
I have to keep it depressed in order for you to hear this sound. Quite a raspy sound. The program input, the voice input if you like, usually, is analysed by passing through a set of filters to determine what the harmonic content of the sound is and how it changes as the sound progresses. They give an example in the manual to say the sound OO usually consists primarily of low frequencies, while the sound E usually consists of higher frequencies. The result of this analysis is a group of control voltages which are used to control the synthesizer portion of the vocoder. Each of these control voltages controls the output level of the second series of filters. The second series of filters operate on the carrier input signal. Now, I could continue going on with the theory, but in essence, this is a bit like a graphic. So let's do some more sounds here.
1, 2, 1, 2. I'm now going to play with the frequencies, and you can see now we've gone quite high end, but I could bring well, I like to call it bass, but it's not really, is it?
It's more like upper mid.
And of course, one of the really cool sounds, which is harder to achieve, is that kind of low vocoder sound.
What I mean is down here-ish. It depends on the sound as to how low you can go. Let's see if we're getting that one in.
Yeah, we're just about getting that one. I always think that's a pretty cool sound. But if it were me, I would further either post-process or run that through a harmonizer and go lower, and then it really gets growly. If I go lower with just the instrument,
Then eventually it dies out to nothing. So that's no good.
So, yes, sometimes you've got to cheat a bit and put a bit of post-processing on there.
I do play with these a little bit, but I do like these upper bands boosted a little bit for clarity. And I guess because of my from my live playing days, the smile curve, the kind of smile curve is good. Maybe I could even do that. Depends what you want to achieve. Now, when you first come to this instrument, you might play with that and think, oh, that's nice, but it doesn't really do much. And I think you'd be right, and really what you need to get into is the carrier instrument. That can really change what this thing does a lot. So I'm going to focus in on that in just a second. I'm just going to finish with the control panel here. Volume, that's obvious. Phones level, obvious. Output, match that to your mixer. And then you've got a variety of options here which are quite useful. And in the manual, free with the manual, you get this card. Then you can split it so you can have the instrument or the carrier coming out separately. That's good for checking whether your sound's any good or not. And then you use the vocoder direct. You push that one in and out, and it will switch between these modes, checking the instrument versus getting an ensemble of the whole thing. When you're in vocoder mode, so that will be out, then the output appears at the vocal amp only.